I was uncomfortable. I became very uncomfortable knowing that I wasn't living out my dreams. And then maybe I just came to this realization, but I believe that who we are, that our purpose in life is given to us when we're children. I think it's all tied back. And I think if we look back at, what people have told us, what we've done, what we've liked, I think we'll find, our purpose in life and what that true gift is inside of us.
Hey, this is Raina Campbell, your Chief Dream Driver, and welcome to the No Parking Podcast, where through conversations and discussions with creators like yourself, we'll find interesting approaches to help you take your dreams out of park, put them in drive, and ride towards success. Hey Dream Drivers, welcome to episode 131 of the Dreams and Drive podcast. And today our guest is Squeaky Moore, the pitch guru for content creators. But before we get into today's episode, I want to give a shout out to Nebulizer Treatments and the Urgent Care team in West Orange, New Jersey for helping a sister out, because this past week has been so crazy. The flu combined with my asthma was just taking a toll on me, and I finally got some help and I can finally breathe so I don't sound crazy, because I know if you guys listen to 130, you probably were like, what's going on with Raina? But I really want to put an episode out, but I definitely was sick, so thank you. This episode with Squeaky is going to be really, really amazing, because she really talks about this whole idea of what do you do when you feel like you're wasting your life, when you feel like you're wasting your time, and when you feel like you're not living in your purpose and your dream. And Squeaky takes us on this journey she had in her own career, where she just realized it was time for her to go and start putting her dreams in drive. So let me tell you a little bit more about Squeaky. She freelances as a development consultant and pitching coach, and she's the author of the book 100 Pitches, Mistakes I've Made So You Don't Have to. And on this episode, we talked about this idea of living in your dream, putting it in drive, and how Squeaky navigated that in her own career, and how she became dedicated to helping women and other minority content creators do the same. So some of the things that we talk about in the episode include how to figure out your purpose in life, how she balanced life as an actor with her full-time career, the idea of vetting opportunities and knowing when you're wasting your time, top pitching mistakes many creatives make, what makes a great pitch, how to overcome challenges along your journey, moving past self-sabotage and gaining self-awareness, and the importance of spirituality. So please tune into this for the entire episode. You are going to walk away from this episode feeling so inspired. And I want to give you guys a little bit of updates in my life. Shout out to my dad, who, if you are following me on my personal Instagram, Rain Shine Love, that's RAINSHINELUV, you probably saw that he had his first catering gig this past weekend. And it was so fun to see him, go from someone approaching him to do catering and him making it happen. So definitely shout out to my pops. I know I love my dad. And it was fun helping him, go behind the scenes. I made him a little logo. I helped him do some word of mouth surveying during the whole entire event and getting feedback and all that stuff. So we'll see where that takes him. He's a really good cook. Really, really good cook if you want Jamaican food. As always, today's show notes are available at dreamsanddrive.com, and just click on episode 131. If you're not following us on social, please do that. We are Dreams in Drive across the board. And make sure, if you listen to this episode, screenshot it and share it to your Instagram stories. I appreciate it so much when you guys do that. And every time you share it, you're opening up the show to a new audience, and someone new might be, intrigued and listen to it. So thank you in advance, you guys. So our giveaway of the week is going to be a $25 iTunes gift card. If you want to enter to win it, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/win. That's dreamsanddrive.com/win. And the good folks at Apple, I had a meeting with them last week, and they gave me gift cards. And shout out to you guys, because without you listening every week, I wouldn't have had that meeting with Apple. So please enter this. Just go to dreamsanddrive.com/win, dreamsanddrive.com/win to get your $25 iTunes gift card. All right. Hope you guys enjoy this episode. Hi, Squeaky. Welcome to this episode of Dreams and Drive. I'm so excited to have you on today.
I am truly excited. like rubbing my hands together, excited.
Why are you so excited?
I don't know. I love your podcast, and I'm just excited to, be able to grace your platform, I guess.
So let's start our interviews off the way I always love to do, is to go back in time, right? And I'm going to switch it up a little bit today. Tell me, close your eyes and describe to me one of your most vivid childhood memories.
My childhood was spent, my brother and I spent a lot of time playing. And so we would play Army, where he was the Army master, I guess, if you could say that. And I don't know, he was really good at getting everybody, like we were the youngest. I'm the baby. He's 2 years older than me. And he was great at getting everybody in the family to play this Army, even my sisters that were like 8 years older, 7 and 8 years older. So I have a vivid memory of us playing Army and me jumping off, his Army we would jump off the side of the porch and do all of these really crazy things. And one time, he tied a rope in the attic of our house and kind of like just threw it out the back window. And he wanted us to like climb
Wait,
down
what?
the rope. It was the craziest thing. And so he said, you go first, since my brother's older, but he's like real thin. And I was always the hefty child. So he was like, you go first. And I was like, okay. And he's like, then I'll come right after you. And I was like, okay.
You just trusted him that this is a good idea?
I guess in my crazy, we were just, I don't know, I guess so. But the thing is, I need to just tell you that this was like a clothesline. It wasn't even like a big, thick rope. It's like a clothesline. And I'm like going down, and then he takes his rail thin self and he starts to climb down the back. Like, so we're scaling the back of our house from the attic. And when he gets on, the rope obviously breaks. And I fall flat to the ground and he falls straight on me. And I'm like so out of breath for what seemed like hours. But I don't know. That's a memory, obviously.
So you guys survived that. Did you have any broken bones or anything?
Nothing. No broken, just loss of air and a bunch of laughs afterwards. I don't know why we thought that small, tiny rope would... What? Dumb. Just dumb. Like, let me just say it. It was just the stupidest thing I could have done. But
two things. So I have a similar story, and it's just so funny. I was saying this to someone on Twitter the other day about how I find I have so many things in common with the guests. So when I was younger, I used to do that same thing, but on my porch with my best friend Samantha, we would like call it, like, I forgot what we would call it, parachuting or something. And we'd tie ropes around us and like try to like scale the porch. And it was just like, I don't know what we thought we were doing, if we thought we were climbing mountains or something, but maybe that was just something
so random.
It is, but thinking about that experience, looking back at it now, what do you think that experience, shows you about who you were at that point and who you became? Like, is there anything about that moment that looking back, you're like, wow?
I think it speaks to how spontaneous I am and how much fun I like to have.
What was the dream back then as a child?
Since I was a child, I've always wanted to be in the entertainment industry, specifically as an actress. So those were the youngest childhood dreams, and I kind of stuck to that. I still am an actress. I've just transitioned within entertainment a lot. But
did you know that this was your calling very early on? Because it seems like you're still working in the field where some people, they may have thought that that's what they were going to do, and it transitioned over time. But how did you know this was your thing and your love, your passion? I
just always loved it. From, I was always a kid that talked too much, and I was always a dreamer, and I was just always a dreamer and a storyteller. I still am a storyteller. Like, I get in front of a group of friends and I'm going to tell this just elaborate story, and I'm going to keep it going until it becomes funny or silly. So that was always me. But, growing up, I didn't look at it like that. It wasn't, my sister actually told me maybe 10 years ago, she said, you're the only one in our family that knew what you wanted to be and knew what you wanted to do since you were like a kid, and you never got off the path. Never.
I feel like that's amazing though. And I feel like That's something that not everyone is blessed to be able to do. But at the same time, we all have deviations. But what I think is so interesting, even with doing this podcast, with asking people about their childhood inspirations or their childhood dreams, people always go back to those first dreams they had in some way or form, you know?
And then maybe I just came to this realization, but I believe that who we are, that our purpose in life is given to us when we're children. I really do. I think it's all tied back. And I think if we look back at, what people have told us, what we've done, what we've liked, I think we'll find, our purpose in life and what that true gift is inside of us.
So how does somebody who is having difficulties figuring that out find it?
You can either look at what your superpower is, right? Mm-hmm. Like without money, if money was never the key, right? You didn't have to worry about money to do what you wanted to do. What is that thing that you love, that you absolutely would do without pay? But I also I tapped into the fact that I was a teacher very late because I always fought against the idea of being a teacher. But all my life, everyone has told me, oh my God, you should be a teacher. Oh my God, you should be a teacher. You should be a teacher. You should be a teacher. And I fought against it because I didn't want to teach. I wanted to act. I wanted to be in entertainment. And I just realized that just recently, oh my God, I'm a teacher. So I think by listening to what people has always said about you, I think there's something there too. You know what I'm saying? You can tap into that.
I agree with you 100% right there, because I was even thinking the other day, my 6th grade teacher gave me the nickname Chatty Cathy, right? I used to get in trouble. I was very smart. I did everything. My grades were always good, but I used to get in trouble so much for talking and for being in everyone's business. And he was like, Raina, you are Miss Chatty Cathy. And he actually is my Facebook friend today. And he just commented on one of my pictures and was like, I always knew you were going to have a talk show. And it was just like, those things are very true. But sometimes we run from it because it can be scary. It can be scary, admitting to yourself that maybe this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
I think a lot of times we're not, we have these expectations of how we want things to go and the things that we want to do. And we assume that I assume that if I lend over to God and what he's always been trying to tell me to do, that he just ain't going to get it right. Right. It's like, clearly I know what I want. Like, you can't know what's best for me. And I think that it's one of those things that we're so afraid that we're not going to find ourselves in the right place, or that we're not going to be happy doing the thing that's natural for us. And so we run from it because we have these expectations of what we want out of life. I've always been told, oh my God, you should teach. Girl, everything you do is teach. You teach. And I've ran from it because I thought, I don't want to teach. There's no money there, or whatever my thoughts. I had millions of reasons why I didn't want to teach, to get to this point in life and realize that's all I do is teach people. That's all I do. And God was so gracious that he allows me to teach in the entertainment industry.
So let's take us on a little dream driving journey. How did you end up actually making a career and working in entertainment and putting this dream in drive?
I was doing a play. I started in theater, and I was doing a play with somebody, and they just were doing it all wrong. And I remember kind of like talking about them. And my friend, one of my really close friends, she checked me. She was like, I mean, if you can do it better, then just do what you're going to do. Do it better. If you're going to complain, do it better. And her check made me say, okay, I will. But then I thought about it. I was like, yeah, it wasn't about being better than somebody. It was about the fact that obviously I had these dreams of doing it, and I didn't feel someone else was doing it right. But why not do what I really have the dream to do? I'm obviously bickering about it because they're doing something that I want to do. And so I set out to do my first play. I'm from Chicago, so I set out to do my first play. Nobody really believed in me. They didn't think I can do it. And then I started getting flyers, and I started auditioning for the play, and people started to catch the fever. And when I did it, it was really successful. So I'm on my third play, and this one I thought was the best one. It was it was called Good Times, and it was a parody of the actual Good Times TV show. But it was for stage, and it was improv, and just the way it was done was so dynamic. And so I wanted to put it on a run. I was going to run the show for a lengthy amount of time is what I expected. And I ran out of money. I did it all. I didn't have sponsors or anything like that. It was all coming out of my pocket, and I ran out of money, and I looked at that as a failure. And so I graduated from grad school and decided I'm just going to head to New York, and I'm going to do acting. I'm not going to be behind the stage, because I looked at that as a failure. And it would be 9 years. And I just stayed acting. I did TV, some theater, TV, some film here. And it was 9 years later before I would find myself back behind the scenes. And I wanted to run, but I was too attracted to the bait. Someone asked if I wanted to produce a film, and I didn't. I'm like, a film? I've never produced a film before. And she was like, but you did stage, like, how different can it be? And I'm like, and I ran. I was too afraid to take the risk, right, of failure. But I did it, and then I got bit by the bug, and I find myself back in the game. That's kind of been the journey. Then I started producing. Now I'm like, I want to write. I don't want to hide behind producing, because I am a creative person. I like to tell stories. I like to imagine. That's what I've always been doing. And then again, I find myself teaching again, because on my journey of pitching TV shows and things like that, I realized that not only did I not understand the game, I didn't understand how to pitch, how to do it. And I had an instinct for it, but I was faking it until I make it, right? Like, okay, I'm just going to go to BET, and I'm just going to pitch this, and I'm just going to do but I didn't really know it. And so I decided to write a book. I decided to go on a journey to pitch 100 times so that I could perfect the art of pitching, so that I can be a better pitch.
During those years when you were acting, were you doing it full time, or were you supplementing it with like a side job or something else?
Maybe half and half. So about 4 or 5 years, I was full-time acting. And then it became too unstable. I knew I was ready to get married and have some kids and all of that. And I needed to show I needed to get my credit right. It was all sorts of things. Because, being unstable, it was just the career is so unstable at times that I would find myself just in the hole. And so I wanted to find some sort of stability, and I didn't want to bring bad credit to a marriage and all of those things. So I said, let me go get a job. But I got a job once I had an agent and once I had gotten in the union. So that was kind of a difference, right? I could, before, when you're just like, in New York, you got to wait in these long lines to be seen, if you get seen. And, but then when I had an agent helping me, book, to go on auditions and things like that, it took away all of the length of time. I had a scheduled audition that I knew I could run to and things like that. So I had done a lot of work so that it made it easier to go into another job. And then I got a job in entertainment. So I started working at Viacom, which kind of made it a lot easier. You know what I'm saying? I still kind of surrounded myself in the entertainment industry.
How did it make it easier?
Because half the time people are in corporate because they want to be around the industry. They want to be in the industry. So, at first I kept it a lie, like, I'm not an actress because I need to get a job, and then they don't want me. And then I remember I came out. I remember the day I came out, I was like, I'm tired of lying. Like, I didn't come to Viacom to tell this lie. And I just was honest, like, look, no, actually, my boss actually came to me and she was like, so this is interesting. So I'm in a meeting with the executive vice president, and somehow we're going through, Viacom has TVs all around, right? And she said, so I'm in a meeting and I see your face. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna just come out. And then she would be in meetings and somebody else would see me on a red carpet and all of these different things. And she's like, you need to talk, because I'm hearing a lot of stuff, and I'm like, yeah, well, this is what I do. And so we had a great relationship, and, there was a lot of, it was just easier when you're around people, when you're working at a company where they kind of get it. You know what I'm saying? And it was easier to go out and go on your auditions.
Do you recommend that other creatives take that route? The route of maybe working corporate, but working corporate in the field that you want to get into to get that experience in those relationships?
It depends on the person. Did I eventually make use of the relationships? Yeah, but not to the extent that I would have liked to have. Mm-hmm. And the flip side of that is that I ended up leaving Viacom because I felt like I was wasting my dreams. I was wasting my time. And so I was honest when I went back to talk to the CEO, and and the people he actually put me in, that I ended up meeting with, that the reason I left Viacom is because I felt like I was displaced, like I wasn't living up to my true potential. So, I think the end goal has to always be in sight, and you always have to have some sort of metric. You have to have a metric system. Like, is this paying out? How is this paying out for me? Is it working? Am I really doing what I said I was going to do? Am I using this opportunity for the end goal? And if you are too afraid to do that, because fear shows up, you don't want to push too many buttons. And then you're like, well, I don't really want to ask them if I can have that information. I don't want my boss to find out that this is what I'm doing. And you understand, if you're not if you're doing that, it's not going to work for you. And if you know, you have to know yourself, because if you're going to go somewhere and you become complacent because the money is good, I was uncomfortable. I became very uncomfortable knowing that I wasn't living out my dreams. And I couldn't afford to allow that to show up in everything else that I did, being mediocre. I could only be mediocre in something that I believe that I can only be mediocre in something that I know I have no true desire to do. Right. Mm-hmm. If I'm going and I'm doing a job as a coordinator somewhere, doing something that I absolutely know I don't want to get to the top in this job, because this is not what I want to do, then I would only show up in a mediocre fashion. Because on the sidelines, I'm like, let me write this play. Let me get this pitch together. Let me create this show. I got work, I got real work to do. Unfortunately, this is kind of where my mind was. And I felt like, I wasn't showing up. I was doing the work, and I was doing enough to get by, but I just felt like that was playing some bad part, or, I didn't think it was helping me be the best that I can be, knowing that I was being mediocre.
Wow. Why do you think that was so important for you not to be mediocre? Because it's something that a lot of people struggle with, right? Like, people may have that idea and that feeling, but yet they never take the leap. What do you think really helped you take that leap?
Well, I think God pushed me out, because I kept my husband. I mean, I was becoming a complainer. I became the little girl that was complaining about the theater show that the people weren't doing. Right. I became her again. I'm just not living my best life. I was talking to my accountability group, and I just kept saying, I have to give them a time. I'm going to give them a time. Because if this doesn't happen before then in other words, so I started to try I started interviewing within to see if I could go into development, which would allow me to somewhat work my creative side. And I started doing informational interviews. And so that I could be my best self. Because my one of my accountability partners, she was just like, well, what are you going to do? Like, you're going to have to get off the pot if you're not going to do, what are you going to do? And so I was like, okay. I started doing these informational interviews. And the first thing was I met with the general manager of Nickelodeon, and we got to talking about all that I was doing. And he was like, are you sure you want to go into development? Like, or do you want to kind of do your Tyler Perry thing? He says, because I'm an executive producer, I'm in development, but I don't do any of what you do, Squeaky. I sit behind a desk. Like, is this really what you want to do? And I was like, he was like, because to me, you're already kind of doing your own Tyler Perry thing. And I was just like, huh. And so that would be a catalyst for me to start really thinking it, weighing like, is this really what I want to do? I kind of like disregarded it. I interviewed for VH1. The first 2 interviews went really well. And then I have another interview. And what's funny is halfway through the interview, and I felt myself switch. Mm-hmm. Halfway through, I had practiced it so that I'm like kind of dumbing my creative side down. Like I almost prepared my interviews to dumb me down in a way. Right? Because if you know development is taking someone else's ideas and nurturing them through to fruition. Really, that's what you do. You nurture somebody else's creative stuff. Right? And I had to, it's like a switch where I know I'm creative. I'm the ideator, but at the same time, I got to hold back because now it's not my idea. It's your idea that I have to nurture. And halfway through that interview, I'm like the nurturer, I'm talking nurturing. And then the other half, there was this switch where everything that God had ever created me to be had come out. And I'm like, oh, what if Mona Scott did this? Like, oh, what would happen? And I'm the creator. Do you understand? And I'm like, lost. It's God.
They were like, who is this woman? What is she interviewing for?
On the same day that in the waiting process, because this was the longest interview. I mean, it took forever. I became so uncomfortable with the position. Viacom had started going through their phases of letting a lot of people go. My boss, who I loved and adored and admired, left the company, and it was just horrible after that for me. That same day, I get an email saying we decided to go with someone that's already in the department. I think they went with the coordinator that was already in the department at VH1, in development at VH1. And that same day, the lady that was working in the interim as the interim boss, I guess, she brought me in and she was like, Squeaky, they're gonna let everybody go. I'm just letting you know, we got like 3 or 4 more months. And I was just like, I just started laughing profusely because this was the same day that I had to tell her that this was done. I couldn't do it anymore. At that same time, I found out I was pregnant, that I was going to be having another baby. And I was like, oh my God. And I was about to chicken out. I was about to say, no, I need this job. Like I found out the day or so before, and I was like, I need this job. Like I can't quit my job anymore. And it all happened. And I think God just was like, nope, you got to get out. You got to get out, Squeaky.
So what happened next? What was the time period? Give us a time frame now.
So we're talking 2015.
Okay.
This was like summer of 2015, like the beginning of the summer of 2015. All of this that I'm talking about, getting this email, this saying that I can't work. I mean, they decided to go with someone else. I had already set my deadline for the same week. I happened to get this email that I was just going to tell my boss and give a notice. And my boss this all happened within 1 week. And after that, I got frightened. When she told me that, I was like, oh, I laughed profusely. She was like, I was expecting tears. I didn't expect laughter. And I was like, girl, let me tell you, I needed to go. I was uncomfortable and I knew it was time for me to go. And I was frank. I said, I'm uncomfortable. I should be doing what I should be doing. And she was like, really? Like, you're really great at what you do. Like, you should go out there and soar. And I was like, okay. I worked until September, the end of September. Now so we're talking 3 or 4 months later. And I started really getting afraid. And I was like, I better look for a job before I start showing. Went to NBC, went through 3 to 4 interviews. And they said, okay, can you give us your references? Handed over my references. And this was all out of fear, right? This was totally out of fear that I was looking for this job because it wasn't a dream job. It was in marketing or something else that I wasn't going to be. Like, I was just choosing. It was strictly done out of fear. They send me an email because I'm like checking my references. Like, did NBC call you? I hadn't heard from them after about a week. Everything was so quick. Like all 3 interviews were so quick, back to back, week to week. I mean, within the same week, 2 of them were. And then nothing. And I'm like, did NBC call you? I gave you, them, I put your name as my reference, blah, blah, blah. No, we haven't heard from them. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's good news. If no news is good news, I guess. And then I get an email. They decided to go with someone within the company or something, or someone within the department. And I was like, huh? Like, what did you ask for my references for? Like, what is that? And I just looked at that. I was like, okay, God, I get it. I'm supposed to be doing my own thing. I see. I just stopped looking. I was like, stop, Squeaky. Just do what you're supposed to do. And I told my husband, and he was like, okay, let's do it. And, I just went hard from that point, creating, pitching. I went on the journey. That's when it was probably my first pitch that made me slow down and say, I need to write a book, because don't nobody know what they're doing.
So set this up for us. You were pitching. What were you pitching?
I have a pipeline of different TV shows that I've created. I did a documentary, and I needed to pitch investors. I was pitching several different things for my pipeline, right, of ideas. So I was pitching for any of the things that networks or production houses were interested in. Additionally, I had just created a digital concept. So I was pitching like Madame Noor and, just different
media outlets.
Media outlets. And then also investors. And then because I had already started like putting content out about pitching, as I would go, I would tell my journey. I would speak to my journey. I think at that, I put content out about pitching Robert Townsend. I was just putting content out on social media. People just started sending me, hey, I got all of I have all of these things. I work here. I have all of these ideas. I can send you the Bibles or the decks to them. And if you're interested, when you're going into your pitch meetings, if you want to pitch them, we can figure out, the title and, how much you want to get paid or whatever. And so that started to happen. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay. As I started creating this book, because it was literally the first pitch I went into, I realized that I wasn't prepared. Like I needed to know a lot more. And I was like, dang, God would make it where, on my first darn pitch, and I asked at least 20 people, do you know what they're looking for? Do you know what they're looking for? And nobody knew. And I was like, really? Like all of us are just faking it. None of us know. And it was on the heels of Oscar So White.
Okay.
And I'm like, this is why we're not showing up. This is why we're not there. Because, this is part of the reason, right? Not the full reason. But the point is if we're going to get a seat at the table, we gotta bang it out once we get there. Like we have to really come with it. But if we don't know how to compete against these older white men in Hollywood, if we can't come with what they can come with, then we'll never get there, right? I just became mission minded. I have to change. I became the one responsible for changing the narrative.
So what do you think are the top mistakes, or let's just say top three mistakes you think a lot of people make when they enter the pitch room?
The biggest mistake is that we just don't know how to effectively communicate what it is that we do. I get a lot of clients or people, that when they're telling their ideas, they'll talk all around the idea. And just to be clear, I coach people that have products, right, for media. So they're going to go on Shark Tank or Today's Show or QVC, something like that too. I coach those people. And so we have these great stories, we have these great products, but we'll pitch all around it and not even mention the most important things that make this project or product unique. So that's the first thing. We don't know how to effectively communicate. And it's primarily because we don't know what they're looking for. The second biggest mistake is that, too few people realize that pitching is really about storytelling. I don't care what it is. It's storytelling. And so they forget to storytell. They go in and they just list a bunch of facts about their product or their project. This is what it is. This is what it does. This is set here. It's this character, this, but they're not telling stories about it. And so I think, a great pitch is a bunch of stories put together and facts merged into the storytelling.
And this can be for anything, right? Like not only pitching a concept, but pitching, if you're in a job interview, if you're pitching like anything. So for people who are listening, this applies to every type of pitch you'll do in your life.
You know what? I believe, first of all, we all are pitching something all the time, whether we're intentional about it or not. If we're on a subway train or, get going to work and someone asks us something, that's a potential. How you deliver what you deliver can potentially be a job for you in the future, right? It can be with some random person, but it can also be the person that can change your life and give you a job. And you never know, right? So you're always pitching yourself even. And so, I believe that we're always pitching, but I think that these are some of the, everything about, even if you take a job interview, you're asked a question, but they're always asking, tell us a story about a time when you were met with this and you had to overcome that as a problem. It's a story. Everything is about storytelling.
Yep. So you said effective communication, not being able to tell the story. Then what do you think is something else a lot of people make this mistake with?
The research before you pitch. Like you literally have to be a stalker, right?
What kind of stalker? How deep do you have to go stalking?
Right. Think of that type of stalking that you do when you're trying to find out if your man or your girl is cheating. That type of stalking. I research everything. I look for articles. I look for charities. I follow money. I look for what people have said about people, about networks. I look at, I look to try to find an angle because not just, and then the problem is you just can't do the research and just kind of know. It's about researching and using what you research in your pitch. I was a coach to a bunch of young girls and women at a pitch fest. And they were pitching their products to, a panel of judges, some from Shark Tank, some from, I could see where my coaching had came in. I could hear it when they would go into telling their stories, right? Their why about why they did things. But then on the research is when one of the girls particularly, she was 10 and she has an amazing product. But she said she knew all of the 4 panelists' names, a 10-year-old we're talking. Wow. And she even knew that she shared names with one of the panelists' daughters. And she says, like you, I think in her pitch, she was just like you, whatever the panelist's name was. She was like you. These hair bows won't fall out of your daughter's when she's playing basketball. Your daughter Gabby when she's playing basketball. Oh, nice name, by the way, because her name was Gabby. So she was able to I think there's a fine line from being like a little crazed, and I think
you have
as
to be
a 10-year-old,
she can,
you can, you don't want to feel creepy. They don't want to creep somebody out. But you can see, the audience and the panelists were in awe that she knew so much about them and she had used it and in her pitch and she impressed them and she won. I think that's the biggest thing, not researching to the point of stalking in a way, but just so that you could use it in your pitch. So because you connect to people. You can connect to them in a way that other people coming behind you won't be able to connect to them. And then you can use it. And if you're really strategic, you use it in a way where they're like, oh my God, I just felt like we were like-minded. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. So why do you think most people win pitches then? Or like, what's the key to a winning pitch beyond not making these mistakes? Are there other things
I think it's just the product, whatever you're pitching. Obviously, it has to be stand out. at the end of the day, I mean, obviously, when you're going to pitch, you want something right-minded. Depending on what the pitch is, they can be looking for the traction that you've already had with, the product that you have. You know what I'm saying? They look for, they're looking at the win. Is this a win-win for us? If we invest in this, is this what our audience want to see? Is this a win-win? And, if you're if you're a smart pitcher, then you've already learned what they're looking for. You've already studied where they were headed, what they may want. And you've brought that, you've effectively communicated in your pitch, all of those things. You almost told them, this is what you typically go for. And this is how my project aligns with that, or my product aligns with this. It's a win-win for you.
So why did you decide to make a book out of all these lessons you learned during your 100 pitches?
I was so frustrated looking for the information to create a format Bible for that very first pitch. I was pitching an executive producer, and she was really interested in my project. And I had to she asked me if I had a format Bible. I lied.
What's a format Bible?
So a format Bible is pretty much a development Bible of your entire project, but it really gets detailed into asking, you really comb out what the narrative is and the storyline and how a format is something like you think The Bachelor or The Voice. Those are shows with a format. The Bible is a development piece, but it's also a sales piece. It's what you use to sell your project. And they're typically, when you pitch it to one person, now they got to pitch it up in the company, right? And they need something so that they can understand your project and take it higher. But even further than that, when your project goes to the UK and it becomes Pop Idol and not American Idol, they have to follow a guideline, a Bible, right, of rules. And I'm like, I don't know this. And I expected to get the answer so quickly. And I went from, people who I respect in the industry, who I just knew that they knew, because they're in the industry. A lot of my colleagues are women, that I trust, or they're minority because I'm, a Black woman. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, don't nobody know this stuff. And I was just so frustrated. It was 6 weeks later. And you can't be that way in the industry. You have to be prepared and ready, especially since if you lie like I did. You want to be able to turn that around. And 6 weeks later, I had to present her. At this point, she's uninterested at this point. And so that frustration is what I was like, I'm going to write something. I don't care if it's a guideline, like we don't know what we're doing. And this is why we're not able to have a seat at the table. And that was really what it is. I said I was going to write something, 10-page manual, and I was going to give it away at festivals is what I started with. And then I ended up with a 242-page book.
Did you self-publish it or did you work with a publisher?
I self-published, yeah.
What was that whole experience like, just building the brand and getting the word out about the book?
It's been hard. It's hard work. But, I do believe that it's hard work, whether I have a conglomerate behind me or not, So for me, it was, I started to find my voice and I started to put content out while I was just starting the book. I put out, hey, I'm writing a book about this. And every day I would put out content, and that was my way of testing it was my A/B testing to see what people wanted to hear about. And I did a lot of polling. Hey, you all, I'm going to go ask executives to tell us what we're messing up on. What questions do you want me to ask them? I don't even know why I thought I could get in talk to all of these executives at the time, but I was so frustrated and fueled that, that's what led me. And those became pitches. In fact, I added those to my 100 pitches because it's like me telling somebody that I don't know in an industry, in development, hey, yeah, I would love to interview you for my book. I just want to pick your brain. Like I had to develop a pitch. I had to develop something to say to these people to make them say yes to me interviewing them for the book.
What was the key to getting them to say yes for this specific project?
Everything that I've been saying. This is for women and minorities because too few of us, our stories need to be told. And I want to change the narrative and I need you to help me to do this.
what's your take on credibility, right? Because there might be some people who have really good ideas, but they don't have the name behind them. They may never have done anything in production or development before. This may be their very first idea that they're putting out there. Like, how do you show that credibility if you don't necessarily have the experience?
You mean if you're the content creator?
Yeah. And when you're pitching this thing. Because I know a lot of people want to know, like, oh, have you done this before? How can I trust you? That kind of stuff.
I'm going to say don't worry about that. With the future of TV as it is, we're very digital age, right? And so now I believe that networks are having to switch some things around. So where, they have to change the way they go about getting their content, because we're all movie and filmmakers, right? With Instagram and with just having a camera phone, so many ways to put out content now. And people are doing it without any name, without any background. And so I don't want to say, I hope that people are not getting stuck behind that, because you always have a platform. Everybody that's on TV were at some point nobodies, right? They didn't let them stop. I think that what's stopping people from going all the way is not allowing all of this to stop them. And so I don't want to add to that narrative. I don't want to add that, this is what you need to do to get, seen. And this is what no, just do you, just do your idea, just do it, just create it and make it happen. Just build it and create it. Just write it. And you worry about the next part next time. After that, you just say, just be determined that you're going to hear me out. I think it's just determination, because no one was somebody.
That is so true. We all got to start somewhere, right? You can't try to start at the top of the ladder. Like, how did you get to the top? You have to climb. You have to start somewhere. But thinking about your own journey, Squeaky, and we've gotten to talk about just a small part of it. What do you think was the biggest challenge that you faced throughout your dream driving journey? And like, how are you working, or how have you worked through that challenge?
I think my biggest challenge was me.
Why?
I believe that I was self-sabotaging, meaning that, so I'm a spiritual girl. I grew up in the church, whatever. And besides just growing up in the church, I'm a true believer. And what I learned it was leaving Viacom is when I really started doing my the most digging within, like my self work. And through that, I learned that the reason I wasn't growing or going where I wanted to go was because I lacked faith. I had value and worthiness issues. And these are three components to showing up. Right? This is three components to doing and being. If you can work hard, you can work very hard, but if you don't believe that it can actually happen, there's always something that's going to stop it from happening. It's going to stop you from doing. It's going to stop you from pushing, from selling yourself. Right? And so I like to say I had the faith of an atheist, which was no faith in God. And here I am, the biggest Christian there was. And I'm like, how can you don't got no faith, girl. You don't even believe. You don't believe that it's possible. And then I didn't value my knowledge and all of the years that I had put into the entertainment industry, all of the years of study, still there was a small part that was like, but is it really good? Is it really, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't value, but I was too silly to look at the fact that, Squeaky, everybody comes to you when they want you to create. Or when they want to create something. Everyone comes to you to see their dreams through to fruition. And I realized, too, that was a big fear thing. In those 9 years, I spent a lot of time helping other people see their dreams through to fruition. Like really building out their dreams and working with them. And in that time of self-development over the last 2 years, I was like, why aren't you doing your own thing? And when I got deep down into the core of it, it was because I was operating in fear. I just didn't believe. Those were my issues: fear, faith, value, and worthiness.
Did you come to that realization by yourself, or was this something that, you like worked with someone with to help you work through this stuff?
No, it was on my own. I don't know how I became so self-aware in those moments. But it was on my own, or I was talking through a lot of my issues with accountability, my mastermind or my accountability group, or some things would come up. And if some goals that I had set, every 2 weeks when we check in, if some goals that I had set kept being there, the question would then become, well, why? Why are those still there? Why aren't you tackling that? And when I just had to deal with it, I'm like, oh my God, I think I'm afraid. I don't think I really believe that this can actually happen. And so therefore I'm never doing anything to hit that's a goal. That's a big dream. But in my heart, I don't believe it could really, really happen. And so I wouldn't take action.
I love that you mentioned having that accountability group, right? Like, do you think there are other things or other resources that as a creative, as an entrepreneur, that you need to have in your life in order to balance everything out? Because it's hard if you're trying to do everything yourself, right?
Oh my God, yes. If you're doing everything by yourself and you have an order to fill, $1 million order to fill, but you don't have you're going to either have to lose out on that deal, that job, that order, lose the money, or you're going to have to find the people to help. So it's really a lot to do it all by yourself. I'm an advocate now that if you have the money, you should definitely, I think sometimes just paying people to talk out your thoughts and your dreams and things like that. It's to have someone to coach you through those things, or to just allow you the platform. Unless you're good at walking up and down the street and talking it out yourself, which some people are, then I think, you should definitely get right coach.
So invest in yourself, basically, right?
Mm-hmm. I think it's worth, it's worth it to invest in yourself, or to get the right, but even mastermind groups cost money at this point, and accountability groups cost money. So, yeah.
Where do you see Squeaky going in the next few years? Where do you want this book to go? Where do you see your impact being in helping other women?
My ultimate goal is to have a multi-million-dollar production company that is putting out projects on major platforms that are about women and minorities. And so that's the ultimate goal, to find a way to get our stories and our narratives out there. So that's the big goal. And now, and developing the relationships with different networks or different platforms, so that once these people come and once we put the money in the investor dollars, I can go and say, hey, NBC, this is a TV movie. I think let's do the deal. I just kind of want to be the liaison between the independent and, the networks, the people that do the business. So that's the big goal. It's to teach. It's to teach on a broader scale, so that, because I know that we're creative. I know that there's so much creativity out there. And I just think the problem is communication, and how we communicate these ideas, and or the development process, how to get the ideas from the mind and the heart to ink them. That's a huge goal of mine, is getting state to state to tap into that talent that is there, but they don't know how to get to where they need to be. They don't know how to get to the people. And so the goal is to hit the pain point and say, I've been on tour, right? And so first my tour was, it's just going to be a book tour, book signing. And then it was like, no, that defeats the point. And so my tour has been about doing a mini workshop to teach people what to expect, how to, pitch. And then another part is to moderate a panel of experts, people in development, the decision makers. So I talk to decision makers and I say, hey, can you sit on this panel? Can I moderate? I want to talk about, it's on the same, it's exactly the same model as my book. was written. Workshop, teach strategies. These are some strategies you could use. Okay, let's hear from them what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. Give us some tips so that we can catapult ourselves to our next level, right? Let's network so that you can build your own relationship. And development teams, let's break a few rules. Because we know some people that's on TV had to break some rules. They didn't all have representation. They didn't all have managers and all of these things that you all say that you require them to do. How did they go from nobody to somebody? If it was that easy to get a manager and an agent, then we would all go that route. But that's not the case. So let's break some rules. And the goal is to continue to do that.
What kind of projects do you think are missing in the rooms of these executives?
I just think that our story, Black people's stories, are missing. Our culture, our true culture. And that doesn't mean the one where we're all fighting and slapping and beating. Because, I don't think I have anybody, well, maybe my sisters, that are out there fighting and carrying on. But the truth of the matter is the people that I hang out with all day, every day, or talk to or chat with, and I know quite a few people, I don't know none of them that's out there slinging fists and doing all of that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So there are better stories to be told. I know CEOs. I know, women bosses, right? What are their stories? You know what I'm saying? And I just think that those stories are missing. I think those stories are missing. I think stories that are women driven are missing. And that's why I have such a passion for women and minorities, because I just think that too many are being guided are being male driven. And even when we take a great concept or a great story and we want to take it to them, they either want to dumb it down or switch it up or do so much to it that it's not in its truest form. And I think, or they're too afraid to tell it. And so, for instance, I have a mental health piece. I did a documentary to it, and I'm currently doing a feature documentary. And I created a show. My partner and I created this show, this docu-series around mental health. And I pitched it, and one network was like, oh my God, it's so good, but our audience I don't believe our audience, they won't show up for that. And I just think that that's a lie. I think that we will show up. I think that they're just too afraid to take the risk. And obviously everything is based on dollars and cents, I think we need to hear stuff about mental health and in a narrative, I think we need to hear more about that. I think we need to see it in its true state.
Yeah, and I just feel like that's just something that we just, even from a female perspective and a male perspective, and I even think from the male perspective even more so, it's just so stigmatized within our community. So bringing light to those issues and making it normal so that people can talk about it. I just think that we as a community, there's just so much things that we don't talk about. And what I also find is just, this is me personally, and I'm not in the industry on the development side. You then see think of shows like Insecure, right? I love it, but at the same time, I even can see how even in making those type of shows, you still can't be 100% real in some sense. Do you know what I mean? There still has to be those archetypes that it's like one of my friends, I'm like, where's the friend who has a baby on the show, right? Right. It's just things like that. I know in my professional friend circle, I had a friend who had a baby when she was 19, but she still went on to, be a professional, graduate from college. But it's just even those type of stories that you want to hear and that you want to see. So just knowing that even within the stories that we're seeing, there may be even more boundaries that could be pushed. So I'm excited for what's to come for content creation, definitely.
Yeah, thank you. I can't wait.
So
I like to hope I play a role in what you see in the future.
So let us go to our lightning round, Squeaky. So this part of our interview, I'm going to give you a prompt and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind. And remember, we're going to be sticking with our whole dreams and drive metaphor. Okay. So don't just let loose. Let's do improv right now. Let's take it back to acting class.
Okay. Okay.
The first word is park.
Swings.
Reverse.
Drive.
Neutral.
Even keel.
And then last but not least, drive.
Accelerate.
Ooh, I like that. And if you want to be a dream driver, you have to have your keys to success. So tell me 3 things that you think every dream driver needs in their toolkit before they hit the road.
They need a mastermind and accountability group.
Mm-hmm.
I think they need a self-development plan on how to constantly develop yourself. And things that you wouldn't do directly in your industry, right? And I think that they need a belief system.
Yep. That's something just in my own journey, I feel like it can be so, my mom says it all the time. Y'all always, let me put the right accents because she's Jamaican. She'll be like, I think you don't need spirituality. And it's just like, it's that you do need that. And I think it's so integral to a lot of like how we position ourselves and how our internal compass is primed, right? Like, what's that place of center for us?
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. How does one get on without having that?
I don't know.
Center.
I do not know.
I wonder what that life is like without having any moral compass,
Donald Trump. Sorry, let me not say that.
You know what? That might be what that looks like.
When I think of, I'm just like, he must not have none because I don't know what. But this is not a political podcast. What that looks like. Like, what keeps you going? Because I know that this journey is hard. Being an entrepreneur, juggling all these projects, being a mom, being a wife, just being a hustler in general. Like, what's that thing that keeps you motivated each day when you feel like giving up?
I don't want this to sound corny or cliche, but it is my dreams.
That's not corny at all. Look, this podcast is called Dreams and Drive.
I know. And that's why I didn't want it to be like, come on, you just said that. Because, no, but it really is. I know some people be like, my kids keep me going, but that is not it for me. I love them and they're cool, but they are not the fire beneath what drives me. Like it is really, I'm just driven by the dream. Like, I feel like I have that mentality of I'm going to die trying.
Well, tell our dream drivers where they can find you online if they want to connect, if they want to buy your book, if they want to learn more about you.
So Squeaky Moore, SQUEAKY MOORE. Those are, you can find me on any social media on that. But if you want, and I want to offer your listeners, Raina, 2 free chapters of my book. 100 pitches.
Yes.
100 pitches, mistakes I've made so you don't have to. And for all of your listeners, if they want it out, they can come to my pitch blog. It's called thepitch101.com, and they can type in put their information and it'll come directly to their email.
And I'll link to that in the show notes as well. If people want to just go to our Dreams and Drive page, click on this episode number, and I'll link to that too. So
thepitch101.com, I have a lot of pitching tips on there and videos so yeah, that's where you can find me, squeakymoore.com or squeakymoore.com or thepitch101.com, and they're both interlinked with each other. So
well, thank you so much, Squeaky. I definitely enjoy this conversation. And as I said in the orange side of this, like, we were destined to have this. We were destined to meet, right? And thank you to Stephen Hart of the Trailblazers podcast, because he was the one who originally introduced us. So I am always grateful to Stephen. And he was a guest on this podcast as well.
You know what else, though, too, really just kind of sidebar. But don't you think it's weird that you used to that we found that in common too, the ropes and scaling the porches and the...
Listen, I have been finding, I'm like, the people who I have on this show, I think we all would have been like, block buddies, like, you know, playing outside. Cause we all, like, I had people who had bookmark businesses, like I had bookmark businesses. Now knowing that you used to scale off the side of your house, and I used to do the same thing. It's just so amazing what you find when you start walking in your purpose. You know what I mean?
I know. So amazing, but yeah,
we made it a lot. We made it to this day, right? We didn't have any broken bones from those reckless things we were doing back then. God kept us, thank God. But Raina, I'm so really appreciative that you found the time to interview me and to have me on. I am so thankful that you took the time and that you know, shared your story with our audience. All right. So that was a wrap for episode 131 with Squeaky Moore. I hope that you enjoyed hearing her dream driving journey as well as her keys to success. And if you like what you heard, you know what I'm going to say. Please, please, please share this episode with a friend. The way that I love when you guys do it is to post it to Instagram stories. So screenshot it, upload it, tag us. We are Dreams and Drive, or you can use the hashtag Dreams and Drive. You can also tweet it. You can also share it via a Facebook link, or just send it to a friend via text. I don't care how you share it, but I would so appreciate it if you did, especially if you enjoyed the episode. Show notes are available at dreamsanddrive.com. Just click on episode 131. And please remember to subscribe wherever you're listening, whether it be Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play. Hit that subscribe button so you get updates every time we have a new episode. And please don't forget to enter our giveaway. We are giving away a $25 iTunes gift card. So just go to dreamsanddrive.com/win. That's dreamsanddrive.com/win to enter. If you are not already part of our Facebook group, I would love for you to join us. To join, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/Facebook, or you can just search Dream Driver Mastermind the next time you're logged in. So let's get to our listener of the week. As you know, I love to read the reviews that our listeners are reading on Apple Podcasts. So let's see what this week's listener had to say. And this one is coming from Ikua. I believe that's how you say it. I truly enjoy this podcast and hearing from entrepreneurs on their business journey and have made it over hurdles to live their dreams. Thank you so much, Akua, for leaving that review. I truly appreciate it. And if you want to hear your review on the next episode, all you got to do is go to Apple Podcasts and leave an honest review. And I'd love a 5-star rating as well. And you know what's crazy? Over the past week, I have had 4 people approach me about launching a podcast or getting podcast help in some way. Remember, I do offer podcast coaching sessions. If you want to learn more about them, if you want to sign up for one with me, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/session. That's dreamsanddrive.com/session. I've had a bunch of clients so far, and they all have just been doing some amazing things with their podcasts. Shout out to Nee Darko of Docs Outside the Box. Shout out to Dr. Berry of the Lunch and Learn podcast. And shout out to Melissa of Mamahood Podcast. Keep dreaming, keep driving, and we'll chat again in episode 132. Bye, guys.